We're in a national emergency.
Today is the first day of the Biden administration, and it comes as the country is facing a number of massive challenges. Karen Caifa is live in D.C. with the very latest.
The Biden administration is starting things off with a series of theme days focused on the issues that they believe are most important. So today, the first full day was all about COVID-19. We just saw Dr. Anthony Fauci in the White House briefing room taking questions from reporters. And before that, President Biden signed off on several executive orders aimed at curbing the COVID-19 pandemic here in the U.S., telling Americans help is on the way.
To a nation waiting for action, let me be the clearest on this point. Help is on the way.
1 year and more than 400,000 American deaths later, President Joe Biden has inherited a crisis like no other. And on his first full day in office, his team is wasting no time.
We're in a national emergency, and it's time we treat it like one.
The Biden administration has a national strategy for getting the pandemic under control, and the president signed at least 10 executive actions focused on COVID-19.
Our national plan launches a full-scale wartime effort to address the supply shortages by ramping up production and protective equipment, syringes, needles, you name it.
Dr. Anthony Fauci, now Biden's chief medical advisor, believes the United States can reach the president's goal of 100 million COVID-19 vaccines administered in 100 days and may be able to surpass it.
One of them is opening up community vaccination centers to be able to get it now into the pharmacies more so that we can have access to it in the pharmacies, and to use the Defense Production Act wherever he needs it.
And House Speaker Nancy Pelosi says she's eager to get Biden's COVID relief bill passed.
What the country needs to crush the virus, put money in the pockets of the American people.
Capitol Hill today also making moves to help Joe Biden get his cabinet in order. The House just signing off on a waiver, moving General Lloyd Austin closer to becoming the nation's defense secretary. The Senate holding a hearing with transportation nominee Pete Buttigieg. As for the other big item on Congress's agenda, House Speaker Nancy Pelosi said today that House Democrats are ready for their role in the impeachment trial of now former President Trump. They're just waiting for the Senate to give a green light. Live in Washington, I'm Karen Caifa. Now back to you.
Now let's get to some local coronavirus news. The state says more than 70,000 doses of the vaccine have been administered so far.
That's about 45% of what Hawaii has received. Now, here's a breakdown by county. Oahu has given out nearly 40,000 shots. There's been more than 10,000 on Maui County, 7,000 on Hawaii Island, 5,300 on Kauai, and 7,600 through the federal pharmacy program. Many hospitals and clinics are not booking appointments for initial shots due to supply issues. The Department of Health says it's trying to get as many doses as possible.
It all comes back to how much vaccine we can get from the federal government. And believe you me, we're asking, and we're not sitting on any vaccine here at the Department of Health. We want to get shots in arms.
To register, you can go to hawaiicovid19.com. That website will direct you to vaccinations on your island. We also have more information on our website, including a list of phone numbers on hawaiinewsnow.com.
Now supply problems are impacting all islands. Maui Memorial Medical Center had to push back 5,000 appointments. We talked to the CEO about the situation this morning on Sunrise.
Well, actually, we have over 15,000 people that have registered for the vaccine, but we had to cancel over 5,000. We just don't have enough vaccine to provide both the first dose and the second dose to everybody on Maui who needs the vaccine.
So, is this an issue at the federal level, or is this going to be happening in other counties as well? The problems that you are seeing?
Well, I think we saw it first because we were very aggressive in making sure we got the vaccine in arms as quickly as possible. But this is a federal problem that is now creating a statewide problem. There's just not enough vaccine to meet the needs of our kapuna and those most fragile that need the vaccine.
We have a new president, as I'm sure you know. The Biden administration is being very aggressive about ramping up vaccinations. Do you foresee the supply getting a little easier going forth because of that?
Well, on Maui, we're hoping and praying that it will. President Biden has made a commitment of 100 million vaccines in the next 100 days. We look forward to that. We need it. Our community needs it. And here at Maui Memorial, we're ready to provide those vaccines as soon as they're available.
So my understanding was that under the Trump administration, they were holding back vaccinations to make sure that each person got those 2 doses. And then under the Biden administration, my understanding is that he's just trying to get the doses out, even if you just get the first dose and don't necessarily have the backup dose already. So why hold back if you don't have both doses for the one patient?
Well, I'm not quite sure the science understands the impact of holding back on the second dose. We're still following the guidelines that the Department of Health, and I think most states are following, to provide 2 doses. We have enough vaccine right now to provide the second dose for the over 5,000 people that have already been vaccinated with their first dose. If we find out that throughout the country people are only getting the first dose, we'll adapt to that, but we're waiting for a little bit more guidance from the medical professionals and the scientists to make sure that's the appropriate approach to take.
So can you walk me through the process, Mike? Because I know it's pretty complicated. When we talked to Dr. Libby Char, the head of the Department of Health, she said that they normally find out on Thursdays, how much vaccine, how many doses they would get for the following week. Is that what you're seeing as well? And then how did this happen with your cancellations? How does that affect that?
This is a week-to-week process. This week we received already 1 tray of doses, enough to give everybody their second dose that needs it. If we are lucky, we'll get a second tray today, and we won't know till tomorrow what we're going to get next week. So it's hard to plan a large vaccination process if you don't know what's coming week by week. But we are going to be doing second doses this week, and if we can get additional vaccine, we will end up doing more first doses in the next few weeks. We just don't have any confirmation that the supply chain is there.
The CDC now says nearly 150 cases of that virus variant first discovered in Britain have been confirmed in the U.S. No cases have been found in the state so far, but the health director is still giving this warning.
It's probably a matter of time, just, that we will see one of the new variants here. We're hoping not to, but just it's a matter of time. I think to that end, the better that we can isolate that variant and not let it get a widespread grip on our community, the better off we'll be.
Dr. Char and other health experts have said that the current vaccine should still be effective against these variants. Even though the variants are not believed to be more deadly, they are more contagious, so they can drive up infection rates and overwhelm hospitals.
UH is seeking input from faculty and staff as it prepares a vaccination rollout plan. Lacey Denise has the details.
The University of Hawaii is working on a COVID-19 vaccination rollout plan as the state continues inoculations. UH President David Lassner said faculty and staff fall under Phase 1B because they are essential workers. He asked that those individuals fill out a questionnaire online if they want to be vaccinated. Meanwhile, most students will fall into Phase 2, which means they won't receive shots until the spring or summer, according to Lassner. Officials remind the UH community to continue following all safety guidelines, including wearing face masks and avoiding large social gatherings. For This Is Now, I'm Lacey Denise.
The nation's top doctor, Jerome Adams, has resigned as the U.S. Surgeon General. President Biden asked him to step down as part of a larger effort to break from the Trump administration's pandemic response. Back in August, Adams was cited for illegally entering an Oahu beach park during the lockdown. He says he didn't know the parks were closed because he had just arrived to help with the surge testing program. A judge dropped the case this week after prosecutors asked to dismiss the charges. Now to an H&N exclusive update regarding a violent attack that happened at a downtown condo. The victim is sharing her story for the first time. A warning, some of the details of this report are graphic.
Michael Hirokawa is now under house arrest, charged with sexual assault and attempted murder for an attack that critically injured the woman, a 41-year-old mother. They met through a mutual friend over dinner. Hours later, she was beaten, sexually assaulted, and near death. She said the thought of her 2 sons gave her the will to survive. With the help of a translator, she describes the attack at the suspect's Capitol Place apartment November 21st, an assault that she says was sudden and unprovoked.
After he came back from the bathroom, he dragged me inside the bedroom. I told him no, but he pressured me into going inside the bedroom with his strength.
She says that's when Hirokawa began roughly touching her private areas.
And it was painful. So I started scratching his back with my fingernails.
She says he got more violent as the assault dragged on, strangling her and holding her down. As he kicked her and punched her, cries for help went unanswered.
살려달라고, 그만하라고. I told him to stop. I told him to save me. In Korean, in Japanese, and English. I screamed and begged.
She remembered looking for a place to hide as Hirokawa eventually fell asleep. Beaten and bloodied, she feared for her life as she crawled down the hallway with the little strength she had left. Doctors later said her internal injuries and blood loss would have killed her if she hadn't fled when she did.
I started thinking about my sons and how I have to survive in order to be with them. And that's how I got to the elevator.
Earlier that night, the victim said Hirokawa was drinking, which is why she offered to drive him home. She says he invited her inside and started talking about long-term plans for her and her 2 sons to move in. A motion filed by prosecutors says when police officers found Hirokawa sleeping in the bloody bedroom, he acted confused and unaware of why he was covered in blood, asking, "What day is it?" and telling officers he didn't remember a thing. Since the attack, the woman has undergone several surgeries and is living with lasting injuries.
I started blaming myself for what happened. I've been having nightmares, and I'm not able to sleep. It could have happened to anyone else, if not me.
Calls to Hirokawa's attorney for comment went unanswered, but he has pleaded not guilty. Dylan and Cheta, Hawaii News Now.
Big Island Mayor Mitch Roth left the hospital yesterday, 11 days after suffering a heart attack. Before he left, he had a procedure to implant a pacemaker and a defibrillator. The 56-year-old plans to rest at home until doctors give him the green light to return to work. And cuts to air capacity are stretching into March. Howard Dykes reports.
Hawaiian Airlines is still trimming inter-island capacity and has removed its direct Maui-Kauai flight from the schedule through March 13. Hawaiian, by the way, has lined up $167 million in payroll financial assistance from Washington. Mokulele, filling the void left by the Ohana shutdown, has added a 3rd daily flight to Kauai. It started yesterday, but there is not yet enough demand to increase its flights to Molokai. Mokulele says it will increase as soon as it's able. Alaska has made new flight plans for March, more flights LAX to Honolulu and Portland to Maui, but even those are the result of Alaska cutting back its flights to Mexico. Mauna Loa rolls out its new product line today, Nice Cream, made dairy-free from macadamia milk. Nice Cream launch flavors chocolate, Kona coffee, vanilla orchid, vanilla chocolate chip, mango lilikoi, and Rocky Road Tahana.
New today, Japan says this summer's Olympic Games will go ahead after being delayed in 2020 because of the pandemic. But some experts say it could be a little too risky. Ian Lee reports from London.
The venues are ready. They have been for over a year. With 6 months to go before Tokyo hosts the Olympic Games, Japan's prime minister says they're prepared and determined to keep COVID at bay. 15,000 athletes plus support staff are expected to descend on Tokyo in July. Officials are looking at using robots to speed up testing for fans, if they're allowed at all.
Anything is possible, and we need to do the best we can to prepare for the games at this moment.
But much of Japan is still under a state of emergency. The country hasn't even approved a vaccine. COVID cases are on the rise, and so is public opposition to hosting the games.
Now we are facing with far more danger than last year. So why do you have to hold the Olympic Games?
One big factor to push ahead with the world's biggest sporting event is the cost. The government has already spent $15 billion. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Now to the news back home. The latest COVID case numbers from the Department of Health. The state added 119 new cases today, 3 deaths. The county-by-county breakdown goes as follows. Oahu with 66 cases, Big Island with 16, Maui County with 30 new infections. Out-of-state infections were diagnosed, 7 out of state. For more on the COVID pandemic and latest on the numbers, you can find out everything on our H&N digital platforms.
I want to take you outside now. Check out this live picture right here. This is downtown. We're looking down King Street there, and I'm seeing something different. Is that a little bit of sun? Maybe it seems like it's been awful gloomy out there. Let's get an update of your forecast with Guy Hockey.
How's it on this Thursday? We've got typical trade wind weather, although there is a disturbance sitting over the east end of the state, and you can see thunderstorms firing up out of the ocean. We're not expecting a whole lot of rain. However, there is a possibility for some afternoon thunderstorms for the leeward side, the Kona side of the Big Island. And the air quality is going to be good for everybody except for the east side of the Big Island. They might be dealing with some fog, but because the trade winds will be blowing at a good clip, you don't have to worry about the air quality from Maui all the way to Kauai. So we're in for a typical trade wind weather day. A few showers mainly for those Windward and Mauka neighborhoods in the morning and again in the overnight hours. High temperatures running into the low 80s. And with those breezy winds, there was a small craft advisory posted for the east end of the state. Surf's kind of taking a break. Not a whole lot of waves to ride today. 4 to 6, that's a little generous. It's actually pretty small up in the country. But look for a bigger swell coming in, maybe advisory levels by tomorrow afternoon for north and west shores. And because of those strong winds, east shores will be probably the biggest and on the rise, but conditions will be choppy. So again, nice trade wind weather today and tomorrow. And as we head into the weekend, those winds will be picking up speed. Going to be especially windy from Monday through Wednesday. Keep it here on Hawaii News Now. We'll have all your severe weather updates.
Photographer Ryan Moss was getting shots of pro surfers on the North Shore this past weekend, and what could have been an exhilarating thrill turned into a near-death experience. Our Chelsea Davis has more from him and a fellow photog who helped save his life.
The man who rescued him says he's grateful he was near Moss and was able to pull him out of danger.
I just remember going, like, if I'm gonna get over this wave, you know, it's not gonna be good.
California surf photographer Ryan Moss is highlighted in this video taken Saturday on Oahu's North Shore. As he climbed to the top of this massive wave with the jet ski, he went airborne. Seconds felt like hours before he came crashing down.
I remember like not being able to feel my legs, and I just was like, I can't feel my legs, like I can't feel my legs. And then I just full went into like survival mode and started swimming with my arms.
There were some people swimming in the water, and the first person that I went to was Ryan, and he said that his back was hurting, and so I got him on top of my sled on the back of my jet ski and took him a little bit further out to safety.
Daniel Russo says he brought Moss to a lifeguard's jet ski and phoned 911 from the ocean, so an ambulance was there by the time he made it to shore. Both men had no idea how bad Moss's injury was, but they knew he needed to make it to a hospital.
When he told me his back was hurting, and I said, "Can you feel your feet? Can you feel anything?" And he said it was tingly. That was the first sign that I was like, oh,
I knew something was seriously wrong with my back.
Moss suffered a compressed vertebrae in his lower back and went through hours of surgery. He is finally on the road to recovery with the help from friends, even strangers.
It just makes you want to fight harder, and just shows how many people actually do care about you.
Moss hopes to be out of the hospital by Friday and then move into a rehabilitation facility. Chelsea Davis, Hawaii News Now.
All right, let's see what the internet is buzzing about today, Mark. First, we're still talking about the inauguration here, and we saw so many traditions sort of go out of the way.
Yeah,
and
some differences.
Yeah, a lot of difference because of COVID and other political reasons. But another one we can add to that list, no more White House China. At least for the Trump administration, they are not going to make one. I didn't even know anything about this tradition, but apparently most of the administrations and presidents have left behind their design of these dishes, this china. And the last one to do it were the Obamas, and you can see that is theirs right there for our podcast listeners. It's really beautiful. Some pieces have a gold trim, some have a blue trim, and guess what? That's all inspired from here in the Aloha State.
Is that fun fact?
That blue trim there represents the ocean. I think it is even called Kailua Waters, or Kailua Blue is what they called it. Well, the reason why the Trumps aren't doing it is because the cost overrun and they ran out of time, they say. That's the whole reason.
Yeah, I can imagine there were several hurdles. And yeah, like you, I also did not know about this tradition here. So each administration presents its own signature collection of china to display at the China Room at 1600.
It gets used. And guess what? It goes back as far as George Washington. I actually did a little Googling. They still have examples of it. Really impressive stuff. Speaking of more artsy stuff, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Now, talking about high-priced items here, big-time dishes, Sotheby's knows a thing or two about the finer things. Now, the company is set to open its first major auction of 2021 and up for bidding 2 masterpieces worth millions. First off, a painting from Renaissance artist Sandro Botticelli. It's projected to go for $80 million.
Whoa.
Incredible. And wait, there's more. This Rembrandt is slated to be sold for $30 million. Abraham and the Angels shows the moment Abraham's wife Sarah found out she will bear a son. What's even more astounding, Jonathan?
Yeah?
The Rembrandt, it last sold in 1848 for less than $100.
What?
Yes.
Oh, someone got a good yard sale find back in the 1800s.
Imagine if you found the Rembrandt pretty early.
Yeah, that's a good investment.
Today.
That's a good investment.
So yeah, some amazing items that we're seeing from Sotheby's. And also too, you know, during this pandemic, Netflix has especially grown immensely in popularity. And how about this? For those of you who've always had the most difficult time picking what to watch on Netflix, Netflix will soon be introducing the Shuffle Play feature. It works by it picks out a title for you based on shows or movies that you've watched before or saved. When users log in, they'll see a button that says play something, a show will come up, and if you don't like it, you can pick something else. So
it's going to be shuffling a lot of the crowd.
I'm not sure. Yeah, a lot of the crowd. And actually, I don't think it's going to stop people from taking forever to select something on Netflix.
That's like my sleep time ritual. What to find, what to find.
There have been so many instances where, you know, it's a Friday night and I'm thinking, okay, we're going to find something to watch here. Half an hour later, still nothing. Yeah. An hour later, still nothing.
Yeah. Yeah, it's sort of an unwind moment. You guys, back to the inauguration. Everyone's talking about Bernie Sanders and his mittens. Naomi Ruckham's here to tell us why.
There was no shortage of fashion statements on Inauguration Day, but one came from a very unlikely source, Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders. The former presidential candidate wore a beige parka and pair of distinctive wool mittens. It all led very quickly to a photo of him sitting cross-legged that went viral on social media.
You know, in Vermont, we dress warm. We know something about the cold, and we're not so concerned about good fashion. We want to keep warm.
Senator Sanders was photoshopped into different scenes, including the Iron Throne from Game of Thrones, the bench in Forrest Gump, and even a seat on the New York City subway.
I think it's sweet. I mean, it's very unexpected.
Vermont school teacher Jen Ellis gave Sanders the mittens back in 2016. She makes them out of repurposed wool and fleece.
People wear things from famous fashion designers to the inauguration. And there was Bernie wearing mittens that I made, you know, in my craft room with a sewing machine that my mother gave to me when I was 12.
Don't bother trying to contact Ellis for a pair of her mittens. She says she doesn't have any left. You may have a better chance of getting one of these. A Bernie Sanders Inauguration Day bobblehead has already been unveiled and is available for pre-order. Naomi Ruckham, CBS News, New York.
I wanted those mittens.
And I gotta say, the mittens looked incredibly warm and comfortable.
Yeah, right?
Very nice look. I like it. Finally tonight, huge NFL weekend ahead. Championship Sunday just around the corner. We'll find out which teams are going to the Super Bowl.
Dun, dun, dun.
The odds are already in favor of the Kansas City Chiefs, though, of winning it all. Many books have the defending champs as 2-1 favorites to claim back-to-back Lombardi trophies.
Your call.
I think the Chiefs win big, and I think they'll play the Packers in the Super Bowl. I think it's going to be an electrifying championship game. Going to be fun to watch.
Can't wait for the commercials.
That does it for us on This Is Now. Mahalo nui for watching. I'll be back with First at 4 on Hawaii News Now. Have a great day.